Welcome back. The restaurant industry is one of the most cutthroat and tricky to make money in, so it requires a certain type of person to be successful in it. And there are multiple television shows built around men who have made the cut. But one of the most successful in Canada is a woman. And as Sandie Rinaldo discovered, you do not want to cross Jen Agg.
The Black Hoof, it's been called one of Canada's best restaurants. International critics and celebrity chefs flocked to Toronto to dine here. When it opened in 2008, the concept was new. A nose-to-tail restaurant serving organs, game, and bone marrow at fine dining prices. It was an instant hit. What's most surprising about the Black Hoof is the person behind the buzz, a woman, in an industry where female restaurateurs are rare.
Why are we getting, all of these young women coming into the field, being interested in it, getting into the industry, and then going, F this?
Jen Agg, in your face, says it the way she sees it, and at only 42, she is behind 5 of Canada's top restaurants. In Toronto, the Black Hoof, Rum Corner, Cocktail Bar, Grey Gardens, and in Montreal, Agricole. Did you set out to build an empire, or did it just happen in a haphazard kind of way?
Yeah, everything is I'm a pretty in the moment person, so things have just come up. Like when the Hoof kind of took off and was a really new thing for the city, and people were kind of tripping over themselves to get there, which was really exciting. Then it was like, okay, how do we annex this? What do we do next?
Agg's restaurants are known for their food. She hand selects every chef and staff member at her businesses. But even though she can rustle up a decent meal, she's not a trained chef.
I think people want to believe that they only go to restaurants because the food's good. 100% vibe, atmosphere, the way it makes you feel is as important, if not more so.
Right.
But if you go somewhere and the food is just okay, but everything else about the place makes you feel so great, you're maybe gonna overlook that.
Agg may be a tastemaker, but she also has a reputation for being unforgiving.
She's brilliant at what she does. She's a really, really world-class restaurateur. She knows how to make a restaurant. She knows how to distinguish it from a very competitive field.
Writer Ian Brown has followed Jen Agg's career for years. He's one of the few willing to go public who doesn't fear her scathing retorts.
She's always ahead of the curve. She's always had this ability to find what it is that the city doesn't have. So she's really great at that. But she's also brilliant at being a provocateur.
Right.
I once said to her, your opinions are very different from Trump's, but your methods are very similar.
Quite the statement because, unlike other mostly anonymous restaurateurs, Agg is known for her take-no-prisoners attitude.
Wait, why are you filming? Can you wait? Come on.
But people call her difficult. Is she difficult?
I don't think she's ever been exactly a shrinking violet. She is also, an egomaniac who has high standards, just like everybody who does well in that business.
Agg's climb to the top of Canada's restaurant industry was driven by that personality. Brash, independent.
Success has made you a target. There are critics, there are people who don't like you. Some of the things they say about you, I have to look at some of these adjectives.
Mean. Oh, she's all nice for the first 15 minutes and then...
Now we're into it. Picky, volatile, sarcastic, opinionated.
Is sarcastic a bad thing all of a sudden?
Come back to this whole polarizing personality that you seem to have, where you rub some people the wrong way and other people love you.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't care. I'm not gonna say that anything that anyone ever says about me doesn't sort of sting if I feel that there's a whiff of truth to it. I do think that I wouldn't be so polarizing as a man, and I think that's where the kind of crux comes to all the time.
Quintessential Agg explains why she's been so successful after getting her start in the business at 23. A university dropout, she and her then husband opened a bar.
How did you go from being a kid who dropped out of university
And why wouldn't you?
to opening up a business?
I was working in a bar on College Street called Sue's Doll. I always just thought, hey, I can do this, I'm gonna do it. And it turned out, you know, I could do it, and I could open a bar and make it a success.
Cobalt served classic cocktails like Manhattans at a time when sugary, fruity drinks reigned. It was praised by the media and was a place to be seen until unpaid taxes forced Agg to close the bar. She and her first husband also divorced.
You know, that's on me to know about what's happening, but I didn't know. And at the end of the day, the only choice I had was to declare bankruptcy, which was very difficult. You know, I felt like I was disappointing my parents and, you know, myself, obviously, and yeah, it was a really hard thing to go through.
Difficult because you're driven by being successful?
Yeah, I always want to win. You know, everything, all the time, win.
Jen Agg's stubborn determination goes back to when she was growing up in the Toronto suburb of Scarborough with her younger brother and parents.
Were you an easy kid to raise?
What do you think?
I would say, give me a second
Okay.
here. No.
I was definitely like a foot stomper, and I'd be like, no, no, no. So I think people don't really change that much.
She may have been a difficult kid, but it was determination that drove her to pick up the pieces after closing Cobalt, and chance that led her into the space that would eventually become the Black Hoof. And in a twist of fate, she also met her second husband that night, artist Roland Jean, the man behind the woman. He provided the seed money to open the Black Hoof. Jean is notoriously private and didn't want to be interviewed for this profile.
He's been called my sugar daddy, so that's really cute that that's how people see it. He invested a relatively small amount of money in this hugely successful machine that now, you know, is like, we own all of it.
But, you know, so much of this that drives you is to be able to say, I did this on my own.
I don't think I could have done any of it without, you know, the help of all sorts of people. So I think ultimately somebody like Roland saw how ambitious I was and, you know, gave me the kickstart that I needed.
Ambitious and now known internationally, Agg has been written about in the New York Times and Playboy, but her online persona has divided opinion. 16,000 Twitter followers hang on her every word. Tweets like these have cemented Agg's reputation. The best revenge is when your enemies make themselves irrelevant with a few terrible career moves and you think about them even less. Really learning about how one can mean no offense and yet be so offensive, grateful. How to run a magazine? If no one cares about your mediocre restaurant critic, have him write a sexist takedown of a successful woman. Writer Ian Brown has had his own experience with Agg online.
It's a very small world, so it's very easy to have, especially when you have 12 or 15 or 20,000 Twitter followers, it's very easy to have an outlandish and a sort of exaggerated effect.
So why is it that critics, people out there, are afraid to say anything bad about her?
Because she'll go after you. She'll flambe you, you know, tableside on social media.
Agg is stubborn about using social media as a megaphone.
So when the critics write more about your personality than they do about your businesses, does that bug you?
Yeah, it's bullshit. You know, I deserve to be judged for my work. You know, to have critics come out and ostensibly be writing a restaurant review, but actually be writing a me review is extraordinarily disappointing.
But you take them on, right?
Well, they deserve,
Twitter.
I mean, absolutely, and they deserve to be taken on.
Twitter fights aside, Agg's empire continues to expand. She opened Toronto's Grey Gardens in 2017 and partnered with chef Mitch Bates, a veteran of New York's Michelin-starred restaurant, Co.
Did she approach you? Did you approach her?
Yeah, she was intense. She said something about, oh, we're gonna be best friends or something like that, and I'm like, all right.
Bates is Agg's first financial partner since a bitter 2011 split with the Black Hoof's original chef. Still, he was undaunted.
I can see why some people can find it hard to work with her. Personalities clash, and sometimes it ends in people going their separate ways, you know?
She has a reputation of being difficult, hard to work with. So why do you think she has that reputation?
Maybe because she has a vision of what she wants or like how she wants it done.
Agg believes the success of her restaurants is proof She is more bark than bite.
But are you a demanding boss?
Yes, I expect a lot from people, but I choose people who want to do the same things that I want to do in this business and are willing to put in a lot and who get a lot out of it.
Growing up in Scarborough,
Yeah.
did you ever picture yourself in the restaurant business?
You know, when you get to a certain point in your life, it's hard to imagine your life any differently than it is in that moment. But no, I never had aspirations to the business necessarily, but I always had aspirations to doing what I wanted to do.
Winning over a boys' club business,
It's pushed way too far because I'm a woman.
despite the odds.
Is there sexism in the industry?
Unbelievable. It's worse than TV.
When W5 continues.
At only 42, Toronto restaurateur Jen Agg has built a mini empire. She takes frequent train rides to her Montreal restaurant, Agricole. They are some of the only moments of peace in her hectic life.
But why do you take the train? Why didn't you fly to Montreal?
First of all, like, I don't know, you look outside, it's kind of beautiful as you roll by, it's relaxing. I don't get a lot of time where I can just turn off.
Agg opened Agricole with the Grammy-winning indie rock superstars Arcade Fire.
It's like it was something I couldn't say no to, I wanted to do.
Traveling this way gives her more time to tweet and to write. While Agg has thousands of fans, she has as many, if not more, detractors.
I think that people think I'm an asshole. And I think, you know, I can be cutting and I can be cold, like a cold Arctic breeze if I don't, you know, immediately feel like I'm connecting with somebody.
What are the misconceptions that are out there about you?
Like really almost every single interview, every single review, every single article has referred to me as the outspoken Jen Agg. And it doesn't mean that I'm not by sort of the definition of the word. I know how I can be, and it's not like I'm not naive about where this has come from, but at the same time I think it's pushed way too far because I'm a woman.
The fact she's a woman in the male-dominated restaurant business and outspoken compelled Jen Agg to write editorials and essays in the Globe and Mail and the New Yorker. Her topic, sexual harassment and what she calls the abusive restaurant bro culture. It's timely given the revelations of sexual misconduct in Hollywood and elsewhere.
I had a cook show, what do you call a boy parts pick? Which, I mean, come on. I had him show that to a server, and you know, I've never screamed at someone the way I screamed at him. I was furious, and
So is it endemic in the industry?
I think it is.
Is it epidemic? That's probably a better word for it.
Yes, absolutely. It's systemic, it's an epidemic, it's endemic, it's all of these things.
So
Of
do you
course.
see yourself as a feminist voice in this
Yeah,
cause?
definitely.
In a big way?
I really think if not me, who? And that doesn't mean that other people don't want change. You know, it's a big risk. So I feel established enough that I can take those risks. But I would really like to start to see people on side. And it's slowly happening, but it's a really hard road.
An early experience with sexual misconduct was a turning point for Agg. A customer exposed himself to her when she was an 18-year-old bartender.
And I run out of cherries. So I very kind of quickly run behind the bar, and this gentleman does not have time to put his dick back in his pants. I'm shocked, but I don't want him to see. I want to get him. My instinct is like, I'm going to get this guy. This is ridiculous that he's doing this. So I don't show anything on my face. I run downstairs, get my manager, we call the police, and he ended up going to jail for 6 months because he had this sort of rap sheet, like a mile long, of these kind of offenses and hadn't been caught. So that was, you know, definitely a defining moment in terms of like, I'm not going to let somebody objectify me.
When the wider cultural conversation shifted to sexual harassment after some high-profile allegations, Jen Agg became the go-to restaurateur on the topic. She has been tweeting and talking about it for years. Writer Ian Brown.
Is she right? Is there sexism in the industry?
Oh, unbelievable. It's worse than TV.
She's been very vocal about sexual harassment in the industry, and now names are being named.
And she had something to do with that in the restaurant business. So I don't think she started the movement against harassment, but in the restaurant business, she's been on it since she came on the scene. She's very smart. She's as good as any man in the business, and she's not given what she considers to be her due. You know, she's very candid about her opinions, but she's not so candid about the inner Jen.
The inner Jen eventually took center stage with the release of her memoir. She was offered a book deal on the strength of her Twitter feed. She wrote most of the book on those train rides between Toronto and Montreal. The title, I Hear She's Our Real Bitch, is a tongue-in-cheek nod at Agg's reputation.
So are you a bitch?
Well, no, twist. Like, twist ending. Like, no, you know, that's kind of the point. When you say things that you think, or you live the way I do, or you know, live an uncompromising life, or however you want to put it, as a woman, you get branded as a bitch. So you can just be expressing yourself, and you're seen as aggressive, which I think is a major problem in our culture.
The book is part feminist manifesto and part restaurant how-to. It cemented Agg as a cultural critic, a full-circle transformation from the rebellious kid who moved away from home at 16.
But at the end of a year of that, I really started to miss, I think, honestly, just being taken care of and being a kid. I was a headstrong, willful child, but very loved. So they did a good job with maybe how difficult I might have been to raise.
Agg wrote the memoir during some major personal struggles. Discussing them reveals a side of Agg not often seen.
Are your parents, were they aware before your mom passed away of your success?
That's such a hard one. You're an asshole. Yeah, I mean, so this is the really shitty part about it. I was writing the book, just starting to, when my mom died. And to have her hold it in her hands would have been like so amazing. And my dad forgets every week that I'm not 20.
He's suffering from Alzheimer's.
Yeah, so am I like the biggest cliche right now?
No, you love your parents.
I do, and I wanted to make them proud so badly.
And sadly, after years of looking after him, Agg's father, David, passed away suddenly in early 2018. After her mother died, Agg put all of her energies into her work. She softens when talking about her parents and also her husband, artist Roland Jean.
You dedicated your book to him and you said, without him, I would die.
I believe that. I don't know what I would do without him. He's my compass. I get emotional even thinking about it. Like,
Although Jean is camera shy, he is never far away. Whether dropping into dinner at one of Agg's restaurants or accompanying her at a stop on her book tour. I Hear She's Our Real Bitch became a bestseller and was nominated for several book awards. Agg recorded the audiobook in Toronto ahead of its U.S. release.
I got pushback from helpful bros and moms in Regina wondering if bitch is really an appropriate word to use in this circumstance.
Although she has branched out into other ventures, for Jen Agg, her restaurants are still at the heart of what she does.
A business
Right.
that a lot of people dream about. Hey, I'm going to open a restaurant, and they think they're going to be successful. But that's a pipe dream for so many people.
yeah,
Why
it's
not
a
for
really-
you?
Well, I mean, you know, it's a really difficult business. Like, despite my proficiency at it and my passion for it, and it really does. What I love about it is it takes all of these things that I love doing, which is, you know, building and designing beautiful spaces.
If you could go back and change anything, what would you do?
No. You know, you can't, like, I sort of believe in the idea that, not that there's a fated way for my life to go or anything like that, but no, I'm okay with the mistakes. I'm okay with learning the hard way. I learned better lessons the hard way than the easy way. No, I wouldn't change a thing.
And W5 continues in a moment.